Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chart Request Live, the show where you pick the tickers and we chart them. My name is Jason Krutsky. I'm going to be your host, and we're really happy to have you on this afternoon, this late afternoon. We are so lucky this afternoon to be joined by a fantastic trader, Mr. JTrader. Jay, my friend, how are you doing? I know that it's a little bit late in the evening for you. We cannot thank you enough for taking your time out to hang out with us.
Thank you, Zay. Thank you guys for being here. Yes, it's my 10:30, but market never sleeps. So I'm still like, no, not that whole. I can cover, some charts tonight.
Well, we appreciate it. You got your coffee. You're sticking around with us. For everybody tuning in, I'm sure that some folks tuning in follow you and know your work. But for everybody who doesn't, can you take a few minutes and just kind of talk about your trading journey? You know, how you got into trading and all that sort of stuff. Just introduce yourself.
So I'm actually 40 years old. I follow the market since I was 19 years old. I started with, like everybody, just like no knowledge, trying to invest based on news. And my first market was the Italian market because I'm located over here in central Italy in the Republic of San Marino. And I started working with Italian stocks and then futures, FTSE DAX. And then later on, I moved to the US stocks. In the last 5 years, almost 6 years right now, I specialized on small caps as well. I continue to trade big caps. I trade also cryptocurrency in the last 3 years, and things are going great. So that's my little story.
Awesome. Do you have a preference? Do you still trade Italian markets, or are you focused on American markets at this point?
I focus more on American markets, but I still do investments. So not really trading, just investment on the Italian market. The liquidity is not, of course, like the one in the States or in the crypto market, right. And the volatility is much less.
Got it. Okay. So it would be then harder to trade just because of that, right?
Absolutely. Because, I mean, even the stocks, they can move maybe like 1%, 2% the most, while in the States, you can have like even small caps moving 100% in a day, or big earnings. So a stock can move like 10, 20% even with a big market cap. And that never happens, or very rarely, in the Italian market.
Gotcha. Well, if it's volatility you're after, yes, we are experiencing crazy volatility lately. So I'm really happy that you're here. Excited to dig into all of these names with you. Before we get started here, just want to do a little wrap up on how the voting works for everybody who has joined us for one of these. You guys all know how it goes. But if you have not, you get 3 picks per round. You do have to choose 3 unique names. You cannot pick the same name 3 times, but a round is only 1 symbol. So if we don't get to your names or your picks in a round, just keep on voting for the same 3 names until we get to it. We're going to try and jam through as many of these as we can, but we're also going to try and get a good understanding of how JTrader, understands the market. So we may spend a few additional minutes on each name, but with that, let's go ahead and get going here. We always like to start on the SPY. So I see you got the SPY chart up. What are you seeing in this one here today?
Okay, so I always start with a very long time frame. In this case, I use the weekly, but even sometimes I will look at the monthly. So the overall trend, if we look in the last 5, 6 years, is still uptrend. We're having a pullback, just like we had it over here in starting 2019, mid 2020. And now you can see since 2022, we're having this pullback. But why I say it's still an uptrend? Because based on my J lines over here, we can see a J lines 1, and it's just a 72.89 EMA based on the expansion number of Fibonacci, and a 192.10, so always EMA. So there's still cross for the upside. And this strategy, based on my chart patterns, allows me to understand pretty good right away the trend and the dynamics that I want to invest in the market. So we cracked over here a very important support, just at the 412, 410. And now if we cannot reclaim this, the next target will be down here, so in the 360, 350. So if this will happen, then we're going to have unwind of all the tech stocks. Bitcoin will come as well down, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, all of these. And even these days, we're seeing a little bit of panic, starting to see that panic selling in a lot of intraday stocks.
So let's talk through a few things here, if you don't mind. First of all, you said always EMAs. Why EMAs over SMAs? Can you explain that?
Okay, so I started big testing everything. It's SMA, WMA, so weighted, also the Hull moving average, everything out there. And I found out that the EMA are a little bit smoother than the simple moving average. And with my chart patterns, they react better at reversal points. For example, Jay, we can see over here, just like at this level, how we have the dip exactly to the J lines. And we can see over here, again, how we dip exactly to the J lines. So when I have a dip, I start then, having my alerts that I will start to follow the stock or the option, whatever I want to trade, and I will be interested. Over here, again, the same thing. Over here, again, the same thing. And I will shift between a weekly weekly chart to a daily chart. For example, this is a weekly. Of course, I can do the same thing. I just need to go to the daily. And now I will see the shorter term. In this case, what can we see? That the J lines are starting to cross to the downside. It's still not there, but we're starting to cross. So this would be the first signal that I have that the market could reverse. And before this day, if you go back, we can see that basically since over here, 2020, June 2020, we are only bullish. And you can see these dips. So we have like a dip to the J lines, a dip again over here, a dip again over here, a dip again over here in consolidation, a dip, and then we started to have reversal, just the starting of the year.
Mm-hmm. What's the story with the specific lengths that you have chosen?
Okay, so I'm a big, I would say, passionate in maths. So I started to read everything about levels, Camarilla points, pivot points, Woody's. I started then to be interested more in the Fibonacci code. So, 34, 55. And I found out that for my chart patterns, especially for, I would say, the time frame that I'm interested, when I trade this 7289, it's a specific guideline. And over time, I will see that price tends to go with these levels. I mean, today, for example, today on some stocks, it worked, the 7289, incredibly. I had so many faders that sometimes you simply think how this is possible. So it's just back testing the market over and over that I found out that these react very good.
Okay, cool. And what is there's a third cloud there. What are the lengths on those two moving averages, the ones that are kind of butting up right into price action?
Yes. So this faded one over here is a 5. This one over here is a 515 EMA. So okay, that tells you the short-term trend. And right, for example, when I have in this instance, I start seeing a retracement. So we start fading below the J lines. And then I see this pullback to the high of the band. Well, that is the case that I start to short and looking, for example, to buy puts, to buy options. The same over here. So I don't like to enter in the breakouts and breakdowns because often I will see that the market fakes out. So, right, big hands will be over there to spot and hunt your stops maybe. And over here, I just wait that the trend is formed and then I wait a pullback to enter.
Got it. And then let's talk a little bit about potential trade ideas here on SPY. A lot of talk out there about markets being oversold. People are waiting for this bounce. Do you think that it's coming? Should it have happened today? They kind of tried to bounce it today and it kind of got sold off. They weren't able to really do too much. What do you think here? Do you think we're going to see a bounce sometime soon, or are we just, what are you looking for signal wise?
Okay. So right now I'm more like short bias, but bias for a trader is not that important. So I'm a technical trader and I follow what my strategy is telling me. Right now, I'm not really looking for a bounce until we cannot reclaim, for example, the 440, because J-lines are crossing to the downside. Market sentiment, we start having really like a lot of negative sentiment out there. If we cannot reclaim 440 in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then we're going to have a fader. In this case, my level, my target will be looking for this at 360. Every cycle, like for example, over here, 2018 and starting 2019, and then 2020, and before down here, 2016, every cycle has a major pullback. So now look over here with me, Jay. We had a major pullback, right, to the low band, so to the J lines 2, this one below. And then we had the second one exactly over here. And then now the potential over here is that being that we sold and broke the J lines 1, we can reach over here to the J lines 2. So until we will be below this band, I'm looking, every single day, 90% of my trades on the big caps have been short. Tesla, Apple, Nvidia, Baba, Python, especially Python today. But I mean, all of these stocks for now, they are like in a bearish mode. Then of course, from day to day, we can have like a bounce. But even like today, Tesla, we started with a bounce and then right away pop and fail all the way down.
Right.
So I'm still like waiting, to start a long position and starting to invest for the long term in a bullish market.
Got it. So I guess one last question before we get into all the other names. What kind of trader are you? Like, are you popping in and out 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Are you trying to hold these shorts? Are you trying to swing them? Like how are you playing?
Okay. Well, I'm a day trader. So a part of me is investor. So for example, I'm a little on Bitcoin. I like to hold big names like Nvidia, Apple, Tesla for the long term. And but 90% of my trading, I need a little bit of adrenaline. So I day trade. This means like a position can last 30 minutes or 5 minutes or up even like a couple of hours or the entire day. So that's generally my time frame. I like to invest in momentum. That's the reason why I look at the US stocks, I look at the crypto, I look at the futures market because I need that volatility.
Right. Okay, cool. Right on. So that kind of informs a little bit of, what you're going to see in all of these charts that we're going to go over. So I just wanted to kind of get through that. But let's go ahead and jump into the first round here. And it is none other than Tesla.
All right. So Tesla's my favorite stock. And okay, so this is the weekly chart traders. Now, at a glance, you can see right away two things. Dip down here to this J lines, right? And this was the first time I was really interested in buy the dips in Tesla. And we're talking about a long time frame. So for investments. Right. Then we had a second dip over here. This was the starting of the year. And now we had the third dip over here. So market right now, as you can see, is curling down. I'm zooming in, okay? And you can see over here that it's forming also this band, the 515. So if we're gonna break this level over here of 750, which is also the previous low, all right? We can have space down over here to the 560. So this is a very important level for me. The second thing I will look at this is at the daily chart. So these are my levels. And I just like to analyze supply and demand. For me, the market is very simple, keep it very simple. And I just want to look where we have the buyers, where we have the sellers. So as you can see right now, we're having buyers over here because over here previously, and this was back in February, March, and then over here in January, and then over here last year and last year, we had the level where eventually bounced. So below this level, below the 750, that is going to be my target. Why? Because the main zone where we consolidated before. So buyers came at this level, buyers came at this level, buyer came at the level. So again, or we bounced this time over here, 750, 780, 790. We pushed back up to the 900. But again, ES would need to bounce above those J lines weekly. Otherwise, next target 550. At the same time, you will see weekly J lines on SPY.
What types of confirmation are you looking for? This is a question that we get all the time from every trader that we have on. What gets you into this trade, be it long or short? If you're going short here on Tesla, when that level breaks down, how long does it have to stay broken down? Do you want to see it break down, then come back and retest and short the retest? Are you willing to short the second price breaks below a particular level? Give us some like specifics as to what you want to see.
Okay. For me, it's always important as a trader to have multiple time frames together. Right. So I look at the daily, I look at the weekly, I look at the daily, but then my timing is on a lower time frame. So if I'm day trading, of course, I will use an hourly and a 5 for 1 minute. But if I'm investing, so I'm looking for a longer term time position, like on Tesla, then I'm referring to an hourly chart. For example, we can see over here, let me move this away. We can see over here, Jay, this beautiful pattern, which this is one of my patterns. And you can see that the shorter term band is below the slow one. And that's a retest, this is a pullback. So on the breakdown, if I start seeing this kind of confirmation, well, that's my short. So very simple, very systematic with precise rules.
Got it. Okay. Right on. Well, let's go and get into the next round here. Actually, real quickly, before we get into the next round, for everybody who's joining us today, again, thank you for being here. We are offering a 30% discount on all plans, any plan of your choice, and the discount is good for life. It's just for the duration of this event, this 1 hour that we're here with JTrader. So if you are interested in a TrendSpider account, get on it. The information there is going to be located in the chat and YouTube. So just wanted to get that out there. Next round, though, is Nvidia.
Nvidia, this stock simply faded so much in the last weeks. And over here, all right, so we're going to start shorting first with a weekly. Always, have your plan, have your routine. Again, same as Tesla. We are below this main support over here. And why I say a main support? We had this level over here of demand, basically into 200, also a big whole round dollar number. We're fading below. And last week, we also had this stuff candle. So if you can see, trader, this candle over here is a reversal candle. And now we're adding south. We're into this other main consolidation area. Look, the price section, how over here was lateral. We were from September, actually end of October 2020, until May 2021, right? So look at this consolidation. That's now the main catalyst. And if you look right now at Nvidia, it looks so much similar to Bitcoin. You can really put them together, and the position where you see the J lines right now will be actually the same. Now, am I going too long over here? Well, it would be like trying to catch your train when it's still not stopped at the station. I'm not going to do that because I know I can get hurt. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for shorts with short positions. Something like we had over here these days, and look over here, Jay. So this is the setup I was telling you just before. I'm looking for these patterns. So over here, we had a first one, so a trend break. And then over here, we had the second one. So right now, my bias, my strategy tells me only to look for a short, despite the pullback that we had today. Each time we went to these bands, look over here, the first up here, the second over here, the third over here, fourth over here with a pattern, we started to fade. That's what I'm looking right now. Position puts, I'm going to probably look for the 150.
Okay, the 150, at what date?
2 months generally, 1 month and a half, 2 months from now. So like mid or end June.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why you choose 2 months out?
Because I give time for these options to work. And generally, I never stay with lower, I would say, time than a 1 month and a half, 2 months if I'm using monthly options.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. How do you go about scaling?
So scaling is for me something that I use only when I'm day trading. For example, there are two ways that I'm scaling: in the money or out of the money. Let's say that I'm going to take over here a 1 minute chart just of today. And let's say I'm longing into a position. So I can long, let's say this is the level where I want to long. Okay, so these J lines, we'll do like this. These J lines over here, this is the level where I would like to long. And I can start my position with just a feeler, just a starter, just to wet my feet just over here before we get to this main dip. We'll start generally between a 10 and 15%. When I start seeing the dip, I may add another 15, 30% maximum. So maximum will be 34, 35% before it bounces. On the bounce, I will start adding the majority of my position. So this is like trying to have a starter and then adding on the confirmation. This is scaling in when we're still like anticipating the trend. Of course, I can scale in instead, so adding to my position when it's working. So like basically I will do that if I recycle. So I will exit partial on the pop, re-add over here in the dip, especially fake breakdowns like this is like what I'm looking for. And then on the break over here, I will look for a big push. On that big push, I always look to sell partial, especially looking for the previous highs. So I don't enter, as I said before, buy on the breakout, because let's see over here, I would buy on the breakout, Jay, and I will get stuffed, killer.
Right.
This is just like a stop hunter. So I prefer to buy the dips. I have a lower risk. The win rate is pretty high, so I can manage better by position.
How do you like the first buys that you mentioned were kind of off of that initial bounce off of the tan colored line, right? You said your initial buys are about 15% of your trade, and then you look for that secondary kind of that lower low to start kind of scaling in more.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the trade negate for you? Like, what do you need to see? Do you need to see price break down below that first J line, or where are you wrong, I guess?
Okay, so at this point, we are below my level. And
Right.
before, at this level, I'm still with a 15%. When we dip, I'm going to add that 15 to 30%. If I buy and this start to curl down, I will use that relative low as my maximum stop. So I'm generally always using relative lows at important areas. Why? Because over here, this is a main demand zone. So I know that sometimes we can have fake breakdowns like over here, and this is really wanted by market makers, by algos, by institutions to trap over here shorts, to trap also longs to make them stop out, and then they push. This is just a beautiful bear trap. Yep. And now what they're going to do, they're going to push it because they absorb over here all the shorts right now and absorb also all the longs that stopped out. Yep. So I give time. I don't want to exit over here because that would be just like, foolish. You don't want to be a retailer. You want to be a shark. Right. So I know that after this, I can load my boat. That gives me the confirmation. But of course, you have to be ready always for the unpredictable. So if I have the negation of this, that's my exit.
Got it. Okay, cool. That's what I really wanted to see. Like, that's what I was seeing on my end, and I'm glad that you've confirmed it on yours. That's beautiful price action. And like you said, they're digging into that, all those stops that are sitting right below those lows. They're going to go in and take all of those out before they ramp it back to the upside and test those highs again. And then they take out all the stops at the previous highs.
Exactly.
Market makers, they're so tricky, those market makers. All right, cool. Well, that's great. Thank you for breaking that down. Let's go to the next one. Next one is HD, Home Depot.
HD. All right, let's go back to the weekly chart. And over here. All right, so another stock uptrending is still bullish in the long term. This doesn't mean it cannot pull back, because actually traders, again, we pull back over here, we pull back over here. We had a minor pullback over here, and now we're pulling back where? To this demand zone. So just at 260, we can get here and then starting to push to the upside. I need a confirmation. So is this going to happen right now? I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus. I cannot know that. I can only prepare my levels where I want to trade. For now, we can see that the J lines are both crossing the downside. So this tells me that in the short term, I'm bearish. Good. What I'm going to do, I'm going to simply shift over here, J, to the hourly chart, and then I'm going to start looking for a short position. Now, you can see the price section over here on HD is very choppy. So we have a lot of rejection from this level 316, a lot of support over here, 296. This is not the best stock I want to trade personally. You know, this is just like personally. But of course, today we had a beautiful setup over here for a short. This popped into the J line. So we had a bullish candle, bearish over here confirming. And also over here now, we are having that pullback that I was telling you before. When we touch the high band, I'm looking for a short on the rejection of that. So now, for now, it's bullish. We're going to break this 286, next target 280.
Okay. One thing I noticed here on your charts, you have after hours data turned on as well. So that leads me to believe that you include all after hours activity in your total price action analysis.
Yes, always, Jay. And I have a reason for that.
Yeah, tell me.
When I refer to a chart, especially when I'm looking to short an extension or buy a dip, sometimes we just look at the daily chart. And for me, it's a misconception of a lot of traders. They don't include pre-market or after hours, so they cannot see the extremes where we had, for example, often in pre-market or after hours, the reversal of the trend. Especially in the small cap land, you'll see that a lot of these after hours push or pre-market push will be the top or the lowest point of the stock in that during that day. So if I look over here, for me, looking for those after hours, like, or this one over here. So that is my extreme. I want to incorporate this into my plan, and I want to incorporate this into my levels. As you can see over here, this is just the starting, and over here is the dip. But those pre-market and after hours levels will always be in play in the next period.
Got it. Okay. We did have two quick questions come in from the audience, so I want to make sure to get these. The EMA lengths, can you tell everybody the EMA lengths that you're using for both of your J lines?
Of course. So over here, I will zoom a little bit, so I hope you can see better. My friend Ripster has these MA cloud. So hi to Ripster, we're good friends. And I use those clouds over here set to the 7289 EMA.
Okay.
The second one is, we'll do like this, maybe you can see it better, 180, 210, and the last one is 515. So having all these together, plus, you know, the chart patterns, you have a very good edge.
Got it. And, you know, you've talked quite a bit about like where the buyers are. Do you use volume at all in your analysis, or do you kind of keep it off your charts?
I use it, but I'm a big reader of the order flow.
Okay.
So I prefer use the order flow better than the volume for my actual analysis.
Got it. Okay. And then the other question, do you hedge long-term options positions?
No, I don't do that.
Okay. So you're just directional, and if it goes against you, you're going to get out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, cool. Let's keep on moving then. Next round is MO.
All right, so let's go back, traders, to the weekly over here. MO.
And so many of these look the exact same, don't they? Oh, never mind.
Okay, this is a different one. Let's check.
Constructive.
All right, let's go back a second over here. So weekly. Let's just load the history. All right. So we had over here big fail, and now it's reclaiming. It's almost curling to the upside. Starting to like this chart over here. I mean, it's against all the trend that we're having right now. MO is 100 billion market cap. They have 1.8 billion float, so not a really small market cap. It's starting to curl. If this confirms this curl, then I'm going to look for the next target over here, 56. So what I'm looking right now, traders, is this main zone over here. If you see this level, all right, It's like the base over here. So we have, look with me, first a downtrend. When I have a downtrend and a trend break, I'm looking for this pattern over here. So even when I trade intraday, I look this a lot. This morning we had on a small cap, the same pattern and break of the curl. Sometimes you can have, you know, like a retest of that support and then a push all to the upside. But of course, these two J lines have to cross the upside. So am I bearish over here? No, absolutely not. What I'm going to do, personally, I don't like to trade myself MO, but this stock is now for the short term to the upside, is almost for the long term to the upside. Could have eventually very good push at least until the 60. If we break the 60 to the high that we had over here in the past, so above over here to the 70, 77.
It's a super, super slow mover. I've tried to trade this one in the past, and it is like watching paint dry. So if you're going to trade this, you got to be prepared to sit and wait. But clearly something happened today. Maybe they had earnings. I have to assume something negative happened, right?
I saw over here Altria falls with Philip Morris Swedish Match deal seen as a potential headwind.
Got it. So how much, I mean, if you're watching news, how much does news come into your analysis? Do you pay deep attention to what's going on the news, or is it kind of an afterthought or a second layer?
Well, news, it's always important. News is like, you know, a confirmation of my thesis. For example, this morning we had the news on phase one, and I believe, if I remember correctly, was EVAX. It was a phase one. If it was a phase one, yes, on an immunotherapy. And the point is, you know, there are different phases, 1, 2, 3, and then FDA approval. So phase one is still like a way dozen or maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to the FDA approval, and also 1 year to like 5 or even 10 years to the approval. So a phase one is nothing, just like a trial. Therefore, news is important when you take the trade. Now, you're a scalper, you don't give a damn about the news. You are a day trader, you may use the news, but then you're referring more to the technicals. Right. At least this is my point of view.
Yeah, I get that for sure. All right, let's keep on moving. We got CVX up next. Chevron.
CVX. All right. So weekly over here, this seems like
sorry, CVX.
Oh, sorry. CVX. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Chevron. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, this turn to the upside. I want to see. We can go even 1 second to the monthly. All right, so this is the monthly on Chevron over here. It's a beautiful monthly. If you have to ask me, Jay, where would you buy? I will tell you, each time we have a dip over here. Now, beautiful breakout at the 130. All right. Historically, we don't have anything over here above the 170. Let's move to the weekly. So let's move to weekly over here. Bullish. So we have a cross to the upside. Good. Daily, just dip into the daily J lines. So bullish again. And now what I will look for, I will look for a retest of the 155, 150. So again, of the daily J lines. And then again, I will use the shorter time frame for my timing. Now, hourly, it's just like crossing the downside. So we could experiment a pullback over here. If that pullback comes, and then we're going to have, again, a dip into the daily J lines, that could be a very good long to buy over here, 150, and then looking again for the target 175.
Got it. Yeah, kind of the same idea, right? Taking out all those previous lows or coming close to taking out all those previous lows, sucking out all that liquidity. Yep. And then turning it around. Does buying all-time highs or like near all-time highs, do you have any sort of preference about whether or not to do that? I know different traders have different ideas with that.
I mean, if this was the last stock in the world and I had the last trade to do in my life, I would never still buy the breakouts of all-time highs.
Yeah.
I just don't like to, to give free present to the market.
Yeah, right. Okay, fair enough. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for being here. A quick reminder, during this episode, we've got about 30 minutes left. We are offering 30% discount for life on any plan that you want. So if you are not a TrendSpider user yet and you're thinking about it, now's the time. Jump on that. The code is in the chat. Sadie will hook you up. All right, let's keep on moving. Next round, Netflix, NFLX.
Okay, Netflix, guys, I have to tell you something about this. Beside their movies, their shows, Netflix was the last year, actually 1.5 years, my best stock to trade. I've been day trading. Okay. So I was trading this intraday Netflix for a really, 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 really long time. Why? Because it had a beautiful price action every single day. Before Tesla, this was a stock to trade.
Right.
Now, since Tesla came, the last 2.5 years, 2 years, Tesla, is my best stock to trade on the big cap land. Now, I was just looking at before this trend line from 2013. Guys, it's like 9 years back, and this trend line is still active. So we have a dip over here, a secondary dip over here. So December 2014. And now we're approaching that level of support over here into the 150, 160. So we could get over here a dip and then starting to bounce. Again, this is the same usual play that I explained before. Dip, low J lines, consolidation, dip J lines, dip low J lines, dip J lines, near the J lines, and then over here it simply fell, melted down over here. Remember when we had the earnings and everything, boom, like catastrophe. So the company over here lost like more than 50% in a few months. Now, daily chart, okay, this is where I want to bring you. So now look at this daily. January over here, we had the meltdown from 617 down almost to the 150. And now you can see what we were saying before, me and Jay. On the daily, what are the levels that I'm looking? I'm looking for these levels over here. Why? We're popping back to the high 515. Over here, you see that we're crossing the upside, nothing. Over here, we had the stuff, so fake out into that level. Last, I'm gonna move over here to the hourly chart as I traded these days. So I know pretty good the price action on this. And this for me was a money maker. On this day, on this day, on this day. Each time touch the J lines, boom, boom, boom. It's repetitive. Now we're gonna get that uptrend line support. We can expect a bounce. We're ideally into this area over here, 190 to 100. So that's what I'm looking right now. Support trend line weekly, probably bounce to the 190 to 100.
There's a lot of people I think out there that are thinking that Netflix is potentially coming into like value buy, super long hold territory. Are you in that camp here, or is this chart just fundamentally broken and you wouldn't touch it for a long time? On the investment side, I guess.
Okay, on the investor side, no, I wouldn't be touching it. Yeah. But on the intraday side, like, a small position, a short position, even buying some calls, maybe 1 month, 1.5 months, actually 1.5 months would be better. Then I will look for a long position with the trend bounce and also with the hourly confirmation.
And you said you're looking for like 175 out of it. Where's it trading right now?
I'm looking for this support over here, which is exactly the 159. And then I will look into the hourly for my timing. So if that's the case scenario, you can come back to me in 1 week. And if that happens, I will be long on that.
Got it. And you're buying out of the money, right?
I'm buying over here, always out of the money, because I want to pay cheap. I want to save a little bit of money on the premium. And if that goes in the money, I'm making, the big P&L.
Right. Okay, cool. Right on. Let's keep moving. Next round. MSFT.
MSFT, so Microsoft. All right, so another tech stock traders. I mean, this is maybe the best stock we covered the whole morning, actually the all afternoon. It's a clock one. Clock one means that it's simply doing this. Boom, 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 boom. It's like each time you can buy over here. Don't do it. First, study the strategy, okay? But each time we get to that level, it bounces. Now, this is not sufficient because we are an important support over here. There's 260, 270 area. If you break that, so it means if ES falls, Tesla falls, Apple falls, Nvidia falls, Microsoft won't stay up. Microsoft will go to the 220. Again, why the 220? First of all, not only for the J-lines, but because we start having this main consolidation area. And then we have another one over here. So these are the levels that I'm watching. This is a big demand zone. So we break this, and of course, ES, SPY, all the futures will start to come down. This will eventually fail. For now, I'm simply waiting. I'm not buying this dip personally. I will only day trade it. I'm going to refer over here to the daily chart as well. You can see they're starting to cross over here for the downside. And over here, hourly is already bearish. So hourly, in this case, each time we touch this zone, so we have a big seller between the 290 and 295, this is fading. And what I see over here, a short, a short, a short, a short. That's how I use it for my swings.
One thing I noticed on the weekly chart there, this week's candle looks like it's the first time it broke below the lower line on that tan line. First time we've seen price break below that line in quite a few years. Yeah, that seems like maybe a bit of a warning shot.
Yeah, that's for me scary, you know. Like I would like over here to wait what ES, what SPY, what ThinQ are going to do, and then trade accordingly. I don't want to invest over here long, and you know, in the next week you see Bitcoin at 24, you see SPY down to below the 360, and then you buy this, and this is going to be down to the 220 to 25.
Do you anticipate that quick of a drop? If things go south, do you anticipate that the drop could happen that fast?
I prefer always to wait a confirmation. I may be more conservative, but I found out personally my trading that anticipating is like going to lower too much my, I would say, win rate. Despite, you know, the early execution, the bigger win, the more range, the more return, I always prefer to trade safe.
Yeah, sure. But I just mean, do you anticipate if SPY breaks down and it does get down to that 350 level, if Microsoft breaks down to the 220 level, do you anticipate that move could happen really quickly, or do you think it just could be a slow grind down to that level? Do
no,
you have any
I believe
sort of
this can go down. I believe, sorry to interrupt you, I believe this can go down even in 1 week.
Really?
Yeah, buddy, remember one thing. Remember when Bitcoin in November was around 60K? In 1 week, came down like something like 10K. So why this cannot do the same? So market is very unpredictable. That's for me what I always think about the market.
Okay, interesting. Right on. If that happens, that will be a scary day and also a potentially very opportunistic day, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, let's keep rolling here. We got about 15 minutes left. Go to Boeing, BA.
All right. So I hope nobody has this like still holding from 300 2 years ago.
Oh,
I mean, that was a bad time traders to invest over here in BA. Now, bearish stock, bearish trend. Why? We have the first formation over here with accumulation 2016, 17, big push. And then just to refer to Microsoft. Okay, over here we had bad news. Remember, we had COVID, so it hit very hard. But look what happened in 4 weeks, buddy.
Right.
This was scary. So now I'm not saying Microsoft is going to do that, but you know, there's always that eventuality. For me, target down here will be 110, and then why not the 90s? We broke this beautiful trend line over here. This is on a weekly chart. J-lines are all to the downside. Each time it pops over here to the 515 is rejecting. Daily is sensationally bearish. I mean, something like this, it's just like for puts. Trend break, trend break, trend break. I'm going to look for the 100. That's the only thing I'm looking right now. Totally bearish.
Got it. And does the price action that's on the far left-hand side of the chart on like the weekly, there's a huge period of time where it consolidated or kind of went sideways right around where we're at now? Yep.
Yes.
In there, does that come into play? Because I mean, price action is coming into that area. And, you know, we talked earlier about looking left and seeing all of that. Does that, I don't know. All right. Does that play for you at all?
Absolutely. Demand, demand, demand. So I will be looking for the low of this channel.
Got
that 100, 110, and also we have this dip over here. That would be, you know, the main catalyst for me, the main target to look for.
What role do psychological levels play for you? I mean, 100 seems like a very psychologically important level, right?
Yeah. If you look also at Piton or if we look at all these stocks that failed like crazy in the last year. So I'm looking at pivots, so pivot points. I'm looking at retracement of Fibonacci, of course. I'm looking at the whole round dollar numbers, the big one. So a big cap, 100, 125, 150, and so on. And then I'm looking, of course, the main supply and demand areas. Those are the main levels that I watch. A lot of traders will ask me, Jay, do you use a volume profile? Well, it's already incorporated over here into the main supply, into main demand zone. Same into the main supply over here and the main supply over here. So you can use the volume profile or you cannot use it. If you know how to read the chart, that's the same thing.
How are you measuring fibs? Like where would you be drawing fibs on this chart?
Okay, so from this point up here to this low up over here. So I want to measure the last period over here. So we can go check the fibs, draw fibs. There we are. So that is my zero. This is my 23%, 38, 61, 78. Now, this level down here is my last target. Actually, we're looking for this 114, but that will be the last one. So that's how I measure even for the intraday moves. Always looking for the highest peak in the last period.
Kind of like the containment area.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, let's keep on moving. Next round. IMO.
IMO.
Yep, Imperial Oil Limited.
All right, so let's look over here. Weekly chart. Let's put even a monthly. So we're talking about a 32 billion company, 200 million float, 21% institutional ownership. All right, so this seems have moved being an oil very much like CL. So we had the nice trend break. Let's look at the main levels of supply. We have one over here, and actually just like close so much over here to the next one. And then the next over here. So we have a ton of resistance over here, Jay. A ton of really of resistance. This is for me like scary too long over here. I would never long on these peaks over here. I would always wait or for a break and retest or to buy the dips. Let's move to a weekly chart. So weekly chart is totally bullish. So cross the upside. I believe also the daily, yes, the daily is where I want to look at. So I will look to buy these dips, these dips, these dips, these dips, but never look to buy these. Because if I buy these dips over here or these, I always have a tight risk. If I buy over here, then what? I cannot stop over here. I have to stop over here. And I don't want this kind of risk. My managers have to be very precise. Right. That's how I make money, not really with the win rate, but with the risk management.
Yeah, that makes sense. So on the monthly time frame, we're coming into a major level of previous resistance, right? We're coming into highs and we just actually took out those highs.
Mhm.
So we sucked up a bunch of liquidity from any shorts that had stops up there. And now we anticipate probably some reversal. I mean, things pretty extended from its lows, although it's an oil name, so it could continue gaining, right? But
Exactly.
um,
With this war, we don't know. We
yeah,
know if crude will go to the 148, like, like 12 years ago, or it will simply, like reject over here, like you said, and go back just like, where we have, for example, the monthly J lines.
right. Are you going to, on an oil name, for example, are you going to reference what's going on with crude before you take a trade on an oil name, or is it two different worlds for you that you don't really
No, I trade
cross-pollinate?
personally crude on the futures.
Okay,
So if I have to invest, I would prefer to invest myself. I invest in crude oil
got it.
or on some ETF. But I don't generally invest in oil companies.
Got it. Okay, so you won't trade them either?
No, I will trade only CL.
Okay, got it. All right. Let's keep on moving here. Next round is ADM, Archer-Daniels-Midland, another oil name. And
Wow,
another.
beautiful breakout. This is really amazing. That 55 breakout is really amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't see previous peaks. The top over here was almost 100. We had even a reversal bar over here. Look, this beautiful reversal bar over here and a breakdown of 88.80. I want to see one thing. So when we have traders, just look at the monthly, right? When we have these bars over here, so this already made the same pattern. Now the other pattern, each time they tend to go over here, so maybe even the past. So I will be looking for a pullback maybe to the 70, but everything depends over here. We will need to read the filings. We don't need to read the dilution. This is just like technically. Now looking at the weekly, it's basing that support. Over here, we went back to the support. Let's look to the daily. All right, so this makes a little bit more sense. The level that I will be interested, for example, in buying is if we get a lows like this. If we get a lows like this. So getting back to that 75. Not would ever buy over here because we're a little bit too extended if you look the monthly and the weekly. We need to see support in this area. I want to stay a little bit more conservative, even because I don't know what CL is going to do right now with the war and everything.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I would probably play this pretty similarly. Next round, Facebook, FB.
Jay, do you trade Facebook?
I do not. Nope.
Okay, I hope you are not long though.
I am not. No. No long positions in my portfolio at all.
How we say in Italy, mamma mia.
Ah,
So this goes back over here again, 2013 July.
kind of
It's a
similar
beautiful
to
trend line. It's really beautiful trend, right? Well, what do you think about this, buddy? Look these dips.
right.
And again, we are below both J lines on the weekly. This is totally negative over here. Okay, J lines didn't cross the downside, but doesn't really seem like bouncing too much over here. I'm not going to buy this dip into the trend line. If Mark will start to fail, I believe that we're going to break this trend line to the downside, break eventually the 168 and fail more with a possible target to the 140. So daily J lines downside, bearish. SPY, ES, and Q, if they will fail, this is not going to fail only to 180. This is going to fail to 140. It's going to go much slower than this.
Right.
And this is the hourly chart. They just crossed today to the downside like that. They did this in the past. Look over here, this big fail. So there's a possible over here unwind. The only thing is that this is always subject to a lot of news. And a lot of people are investing in Facebook, for the metaverse factor or whatever. So news comes, this can really spike and bounce, maybe have a big gap. But technically speaking, yes, a SPY break this is going to go 150, 140.
Got it. Yeah. Interestingly, I was just told that ADM is not an oil name. ADM is a food producing name.
Okay.
I don't know too much about what they do exactly, but yeah, I was just corrected on that. So apologies for mixing that up. I saw Midland and I just assumed oil, but food.
Over here, yeah, they produce oilseed, corn, wheat, cocoa for agricultural
Ah,
commodities. Yeah.
got it. Okay, that makes a little more sense. All right, so we have just a few minutes left. Let's jam through like one or two more things here. We've got Amazon up next.
Amazon. So this is the big one. Main demand level over here, 2000. Main also whole round dollar number. Below both J lines, market is fading. We're gonna probably touch this in the next week or even this week. So the 2000, 2020. If market will start to fail more, so remember the SPY will go to that weekly J lines, then we have the possibility to go over here to the 1630, 1650. Am I going to buy over here long? Unless SPY really bounces strong, I'm not buying over here on this support. Daily, all to the downside. So yes, we have that support 2000, but I, for now, don't see any kind of, I would say, signal that tells me to go for a long. I need to stay with the trend if I want to have like my edge. Look, this hourly. I mean, this is simply brutal how it's trading over here. Brutal. No long for me, only short bias on this.
Got it. And then what changes that short bias? I guess probably the J lines flipping the whole bop shebang, right?
Exactly. We're starting from the hourly, then from the daily, and seeing the market, overall market, so the indexes bouncing, then I will start changing my opinion on Amazon.
Right. And I mean, you would think that one would kind of beget the other, right? Like if Amazon is able to catch a bid around 2000, SPY's probably gaining too. Like they're going to work in somewhat lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see it happen together.
Absolutely. Will be very interesting this, this spring, summer to see what happens.
We did. I mean, to be fair, we did take that pivot low, that May 2020, that pullback pivot. Looks like we just kind of broke through that a little bit, right? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the beginning of pulling that liquidity out, right? Like anybody who was long with that as their stop. It'd be interesting to see how this one plays out because man, that is a brutal correction for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got 1 minute left, so let's just hit one more here. The last round is going to be VET, V-E-T, Vermilion Energy.
All right. So VET downtrend over here. Well, let's see. I want to see first, sorry, traders. I want to see first the monthly. All right, so no more data. It's just rejecting over here the J lines. Let's look over here to the weekly. Right, this was a good bounce from the starting of the year. Of course, energy means it followed pretty good over here, the energy sector. So we bounced from a low of 2.50 now to the 22. It's above both J lines. They didn't still cross for the upside. Let me see over here for the daily. Okay, this is a little bit more interesting. Now, a big accumulation and then distribution. We are over here into the 14. Now it's consolidating over here at 18. So we're finding a main support over here. Let's see, the hourly is totally bearish. So again, until I don't have, for example, both J lines to the upside, I'm not really looking too long over here. I want to take 1 second more at the weekly. All right. If we can consolidate, for example, coming back over here to this level, 15, and start like curling and the J lines to the upside, then this trend can reverse. For now, I'm not long bias.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Right on, JTrader. Well, dude, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time and hanging out with us this evening. I know it's late for you, so appreciate your willingness to stick around with us. For everybody who is not familiar with you, how can people find you online?
You can follow me on Twitter, JTraderCo, or simply join our chat room, trading live room, jtrader.co.
Cool, man. Well, yes, please, if you are tuned in, give this man a follow. He has been so gracious with his time, and we really do appreciate it. We hope that you guys enjoyed this session. We've tried a different time this week. We're going to do the same thing next week. We've got Pattern Profits, Mr. Ben Bennett, on next Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. To do this exact same, we're going to go over some charts and take some requests. So please join us for that. And again, very quickly, before we sign off here, 30% off for life if you sign up for an account right now. So get those, get that code from Sadie in the chat and sign up for an account with us. Again, JTrader, thank you so much for being with us. We do appreciate it. Everybody who tuned in, thank you guys for being with us. And we will be back again next week for another one as well. Tomorrow night, we're going to be on Twitter, Twitter Spaces with some excellent guests. We've got Theta Warrior, we've got Anne-Marie Bained, we've got Rob Smith, and we've got Juicy Trades. And they're going to be talking us through some of their favorite trade ideas for this week and the coming weeks. So join us for that too. Have a great evening, everybody. Happy trading, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.